You're listening to the Successful Mind Podcast.
Successful people learn how to make their minds work for them. I'm David Nagel, and this is the Successful Mind Podcast. Simple idea that I want you to seriously think about, and I want you to seriously think about it for the rest of your life, or at least as long as you're in business, okay? When you're speaking we're talking about in business now, okay? In sales. When you're speaking to the subconscious mind of another person, where are you speaking from in your own mind? And what are you speaking to in their mind, right? Now, here's what I'm talking about. What do you want in life versus what do they want in life? A problem that I don't know that I've ever seen any sales training touch on at all is if you unconsciously want the same thing or similar things to the person that you're trying to sell, you have little or no influence. Little or no influence. Why would that be? Because the same ideas, the same beliefs, the same untruths about life hold you both simultaneously in the same life situations. So attempting to influence somebody out of something that you haven't even developed the consciousness of, right? In other words, your belief system's running parallel to theirs. It is difficult, if not impossible. I think it's one of the reasons why almost all the sales books teach strategic manipulation. Pretty much. Strategic manipulation. And what I mean by that is if I have the same value system that you do, okay, and I'm not talking about good or bad, just the same value system that you do, and I want to try to get you to do something that I probably would not do, or I have not done, I'm going to be out of integrity with my true self. My belief system is not going to be in harmony with itself in order to have the energy required to influence you to do something completely different. So I'm going to have to resort to manipulation to be able to do it. And there could be various different ways that we do that. It could be fear. It could be bullying. It could, there's lots of different ways. Tricking a person. Because if you think about this, from the point of honesty, what we all should be doing is helping each other get to a different level in life, right? Becoming more of who it is that we really want to be. But what is the average salesperson doing? They're just trying to hit a goal. And not that that's bad. Like, I don't want to make it like hitting your goal is like a bad thing. Maybe I should phrase it this way. They're stuck in survival. They're trying to survive just like the person that they're selling is trying to survive. So the energy is like the underlying energy about what they're doing in life is about being safe. How do I safely survive, not make too many mistakes, go along to get along, that type of thing through my life. Not big chunks of transformation is that person living by. And then they struggle with, why are they having such a difficult time moving the needle in what they're doing? Well, the simple answer is because they're not being a person of influence. Here was the first place that I began to learn this. So, in some of the things that I teach about breaking the rules in business and in success in order to succeed. Because if you don't break the rules, then you're stuck within the boundaries of what those rules are. I'm not talking about the law. I'm talking about the rules, right? Business, life, there's a lot of stupid rules that keep people boxed in and that they can't get out of, right? They're very difficult to get out of. When I started in this industry, the internet was in its infancy, right? And there was no social media. Almost all marketing was done the traditional way that marketing had been done for 200 years, basically. I purchased the ability to be a facilitator for Bob Proctor. Now, I purchased that along with about 250 other people back in 1999. And I'm the only one out of those people that is still in business today. And the problem was there was a flaw in what we were doing right from the very beginning. And here's what the flaw was. Bob built his business one step at a time, just like most people do. And he started in the 1960s, okay? So he had figured out how to be a person of influence in order to be able to sell rooms and have thousands of people in those rooms. The other thing is that those people that were in those rooms were basically ideal client types, okay? They were all looking for the same or similar things. In other words, some marketing, whether it was his or somebody else's, usually somebody else's, had already vetted all of those people. So it wasn't like he was just going from one person to the next, walking down the street, looking for business. You got a massive chunk of the population that is your ideal client in a room. And you're going on stage in front of them. You could move mountains in a situation like that. The facilitators that were all buying his program, none of us had any influence whatsoever. Not a one of us. So the problem was that the people that we would naturally go speak to were not our ideal client. They didn't want anything to do with what we were teaching. And that was the first hurdle. The first hurdle was to recognize that I wanted something very different than the people that were around me. And that if I was going to keep going after the people that were around me, I was going to get nothing, right? I would probably not be in business very long. So I had to figure out, how do I break the rules in order to get to a different place where I'm in an environment where people want more, where I could actually be a person of influence in that. And the other people, no matter how much I tried to train them, because the first thing that Bob did when I started to become successful was he brought me in to train those facilitators on how to sell. None of them would go past that. None of them would actually do what was necessary to break the rules to put themselves in a situation where they could be influential. You know why? Because they weren't influential. They weren't influential. What does that mean? It means they loved the material, but they had no intention of growing. They had really no intention of doing anything with it. They romanticized the idea of what it would be like to be able to do what Bob does or Tony Robbins does or whatever, mostly out of a low self-esteem and not the seriousness of, this is what I need to change in my life and in my business so that I can articulate to other people how to make the same kind of change. So they would create the problems in the average life that keep people stuck, that they won't go beyond to do anything different. And those problems were real to them. They're in their reality and they're entirely stuck. So they became non-influential influenceable, if that's even a word. I don't think it is, but it sounds good. Okay. In other words, I couldn't influence them. Bob couldn't influence them. Nobody could influence these people beyond the purchase of what they bought to actually make a change, right? It's different to take out a credit card and say, here, yeah, sign me up for this, than here, yeah, sign me up for this, and I'm going to dedicate myself to actually making this change. That's a very big difference, right? So the person that just has a fantasy in life, you may get a credit card out of them, depending on what it is that you're selling, but they have no desire to actually move forward to accomplish something. We're generally drawn to people that are very much like ourselves. So the first question for today is, right, like, where are you coming from, right? What is behind your ability to want to actually influence another human being? And what are you speaking to in the person that is your ideal client about what your product or service has to offer? Because if you have a product or service that requires change of any kind, what are you speaking to? A future outcome. You're speaking to a future outcome, right? How many people, you've all had sales conversations where you get into a sales conversation and it goes absolutely nowhere because the person has every reason and excuse not to buy. Of course they need the product or the service. Of course they want the product or the service, but they have every excuse not to buy because they have no intention of making a change on the inside, right? When you embrace the idea of your change, you become an influential person in that direction. So you must seek out and speak to that in other people, meaning that when you come across somebody where you find that doesn't exist, that is not your ideal client. That's not your ideal client. It doesn't matter what you're selling. So don't anybody get stuck on that idea. Sales is change in the lives of the person who buys to create a future outcome for whatever the value is of what it is that you're selling. If you can't speak to the part of their mind that wants that future outcome, there's no sale. And if you're not careful, it will reinforce the idea, if you have an idea in your mind that you can't do it, or you might not be able to make it, or it's not going to work. Those things have nothing to do with where it is that you're going. You must hold tight to the vision that you have and to speak to a different part of the person that you're actually talking to. It's very important. It's very important. So part of your life is also to, as you go through your life, to ask yourself, am I engaging in thinking or behavior that is causing me to play it safe versus expand myself into what I actually want? And when you find that, you want to engage in that transformation, in that change. Really engage in it, because that idea fundamentally inside of yourself will attract different kinds of people for the rest of your life. They're always here. They're always here. People get very myopic sometimes about their own situation because they go, it closes down. I can't see anything beyond what my current reality is. Well, there's a massive reality outside of your reality, but you're the one that has to break through, that shell to get out there and see it. You also have to be coming from the place that you're not looking to get something from them. I think that's one of the biggest destroyers of business, because it's also one of the biggest blind spots in people. They're really searching for something. They want to be famous. They want people to say yes to them. They want the acknowledgement. They want the recognition more than anything else. And it prevents them from growing into a person that literally is influential. Because influential people piss people off. You can't get away from it if you're influential. The ones that don't agree with you will be pissed off. But you will attract the masses of the people that really want to hear what it is that you have to say. All right. Give that some serious thought. That's a life-changing, sales-changing idea, right? What are you speaking to inside of the unconscious mind of that person? All right. Love you. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening to the Successful Mind Podcast. If you like what you heard and you want to learn more, go to lifeisnowinc.com. I'll see you next week.